In a preview video, teen mother Amber Portwood responded to Dr. Drew Pinsky, who hosted her reunion. Teen Mom. The next chapter's latest teaser was made public online by MTV. Dr. Drew criticized the Teen Mom OG star for being unclear in her remarks in the stressful video, which was taken from the upcoming reunion recap. "I have to tell you the truth, Amber," he replied. "You're being a little bit unclear and—" The 32-year-old Amber cut in and yelled, "No, I'm being clear." Her remarks seemed to leave Dr. Drew stunned. The Teen Mom star, meantime, has been inconsolable since losing custody of their 4-year-old son, James, during the summer. Previously, a judge in Indiana decided in favor of her ex-boyfriend Andrew Glennon, 38. Following her arrival in Los Angeles, California, the reality star was recently interviewed exclusively by the U.S. Sun. Amber stated she hasn't given up on getting back custody of her youngest child in a video that the Sun captured. The TV personality said that despite the situation, she is doing well but still needs to jump through hoops. Amber acknowledged that she is not going to stop in her efforts to reunite with her kid. She said, "It's just hard, but people do this every day. And I think everybody out there needs to understand that I am not the only one, and that people go through a lot worse." The MTV mother acknowledged that the biggest obstacle is the physical separation between her and her baby. "To be honest, it feels like two different states," she added. "It feels the same as before. I'm moving back and forth, and I'll do what needs to be done if it's necessary." More than 2,000 miles from Amber in Indiana, Andrew and the toddler recently moved into his grandmother's $5 million mansion in Los Angeles. In addition, Amber has a 13-year-old daughter named Leah, who is being cared for by her 36-year-old ex-fiancé Gary Shirley. Gary and Christina, who were married in 2015, have a daughter named Emily. Amber stated that co-parenting with Andrew has been challenging in a recent MTV program clip. Amber's attempts at co-parenting have not been as well received by Andrew, who also dislikes her involvement in James' life. "Seriously, do you know how hard it is to co-parent?" Amber asked Gary. With someone who doesn't want to co-parent, Gary completed for her. After the TV celebrity became pregnant with her second kid, she dated Andrew for almost 2 years. The latest Teen Mom. The next chapter reunion had all the ingredients of a combustible event. Emotions were already running high after Amber Portwood, one of the show's most polarizing figures, recently lost custody of her 4-year-old son James to her ex, Andrew Glennon. In a sneak peek clip released ahead of the reunion's airing, tensions reached a boiling point as Amber clashed with host Dr. Drew Pinsky, a mainstay of the franchise and a figure often tasked with mediating these emotionally charged reunions. Amber, visibly distressed, sat across from Dr. Drew and her fellow castmates, clutching a tissue. Her eyes were red from crying, but her tone was sharp and defensive. "You don't even understand what I've been through, Drew," she snapped, leaning forward. "You sit there and ask these questions like it's all so simple, but it's not." Amber's custody battle had been one of the most dramatic and publicized storylines of the season. After a tumultuous relationship with Andrew that included allegations of domestic violence, Amber's legal struggles played out on screen and in court. Despite her efforts to turn her life around, including attending therapy and working on her anger issues, the court ultimately ruled in favor of Andrew, granting him primary custody of James. Amber was devastated by the decision, which required her son to relocate to California with Andrew, a move that would significantly limit her visitation. For Amber, the reunion was a chance to speak her truth, but the emotions surrounding the loss of her son were still raw. The clip begins with Dr. Drew addressing the custody loss. "Amber, I know this has been a very difficult time for you. Can you walk us through how you're feeling right now?" Amber's eyes narrowed. "How am I feeling? Seriously, Drew? I feel like my world's been ripped apart. What kind of question is that? Dr. Drew tried to maintain his calm demeanor. I know it's hard, but I think it's important for the audience to understand where you're coming from. Amber wasn't having it. You don't get it, Drew. You sit there like this neutral party, but you don't see what happens behind closed doors. Andrew gets to play the good guy, but he's not innocent in all of this. Her voice cracked, and she wiped her eyes angrily. And now my son, my baby, is living thousands of miles away from me. How am I supposed to feel about that? The camera panned to Amber's castmates, who exchanged uneasy glances. Catalin Baltierra, known for her compassionate nature, looked particularly pained. She whispered to her husband Tyler, "This is so hard to watch." Cheyenne Floyd, another cast member, leaned forward to offer support. "Amber, we're here for you. No one can imagine what you're going through unless they've been in your shoes." Mackie Bookout added, "You've been through hell, Amber. But you're strong, and we've all seen you fight. Don't let anyone take that away from you." Amber nodded, her lip quivering. "Thank you, guys. It means a lot. But it's hard to keep fighting when it feels like the system is stacked against you." Dr. Drew, sensing the tension, tried to steer the conversation in a more constructive direction. "Amber, I hear your pain, and I think it's important to acknowledge that. But I also want to explore what steps you can take moving forward to rebuild that relationship with James." Amber let out a bitter laugh. "Rebuild? Drew, I didn't destroy it in the first place. That's what no one seems to understand. I've been trying therapy, parenting classes, everything they asked me to do, and it still wasn't enough. What else can I do?" Dr. Drew responded gently, "Sometimes the court system makes decisions that feel unfair, but they're based on what they believe is in the best interest of the child. That doesn't mean it's permanent, Amber. There's always room for change." Amber shook her head. "It's easy for you to say that, sitting there. You're not the one missing out on bedtime stories, hugs, and birthdays." As Amber spoke, the show cut to flashbacks of her courtroom appearances. Viewers saw her tearfully pleading her case, Andrew sitting stoically on the opposite side of the courtroom, and the judge delivering the heartbreaking verdict. These scenes were juxtaposed with moments of Amber bonding with James, playing in the park, reading books, and sharing laughter. The contrast underscored the depth of her pain and the stakes of her struggle. Returning to the reunion set, Amber took a deep breath, seemingly trying to compose herself. "I've made mistakes," she admitted. "I'm not perfect, but I've worked so damn hard to be a better person, a better mom. And it feels like none of that matters." Catalin chimed in, "Amber, don't let this define you. You've come so far, and you're still James's mom. No one can take that away from you." Amber nodded, a flicker of hope crossing her face. "I know, I don't want him to forget me. That's my biggest fear." The sneak peek clip sparked a flurry of reactions online. Fans were divided, as they often are when it comes to Amber. Some expressed sympathy, praising her for her vulnerability and acknowledging the challenges of navigating custody battles. "Say what you want about Amber, but you can see how much she loves James," one fan tweeted. Others, however, were more critical, pointing to Amber's past behavior as a factor in the court's decision. "She's crying now, but actions have consequences," another commented. "She needs to take responsibility instead of blaming everyone else." As the reunion wrapped up, Amber's path forward remained uncertain. While she faced significant challenges in regaining custody or even increasing her visitation rights, her determination to stay connected to James was evident. "I'm not giving up," she said in her closing remarks. "I don't care how long it takes or how hard it is. I'm his mom, and I'll always fight for him." For fans and critics alike, Amber's story served as a poignant reminder of the complexities of motherhood, redemption, and resilience in the face of loss.